Welcome to the Deficient Vegans podcast. This is episode 61. I'm the Muscle Deficient Vegan here with the Protein Deficient Vegan. Do you want to say hi?
Hi.
Hi, everybody. So this week, we're going to have a replay of one of our favorite episodes, which was Going Vegan 101. That'll be the main segment. It might be slightly different, some different editing. We've learned a little bit about how to edit things since then, so it probably sounds a little better. Overall, it will be a good episode to maybe share with somebody who's thinking about going vegan, or if you're a new vegan, maybe some reinforcement, pick up a few new things. It's kind of overwhelming at first, so you probably don't remember everything right off the bat. Some tips and tricks for the things you might need to know as a new vegan. But first up, new news.
New news.
So our first story here is about methane.
Methane.
That's the cow fart thing, right?
It is, yeah.
That's all I remember ever hearing about it in the news was cow farts.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So an organization called the Robertson Foundation has invested $19 million in 6 different organizations that are working to reduce methane emissions from the food system by moving towards plant-based foods and reducing food waste overall. The 6 organizations they're working with are the Tilt Collective, the American Heart Association, the World Resources Institute, World Wildlife Fund, Full Circle Future, and Zero Food Waste Coalition.
Wait, isn't the World Wildlife Fund the one where you can buy like really cute stuffed animals?
Yeah, I think that's been their main way to get money forever.
Well, they've gotten some money from me.
I don't know if that's actually true, but yeah, they do sell the stuffed animals. It's pretty cool. I've seen them for a long time. They've always got like the pandas in their pictures and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
I think I got you some of the monkeys once.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, they're just so cute.
So the World Wildlife Foundation, Zero Food Waste Coalition, and the Full Circle Future are reducing food waste overall. Like we talked about in our last episode, 1/3 of all food in the U.S. is never eaten.
Which is a crazy statistic.
Yeah, so any reduction on that is a good goal.
Yeah.
So Tilt Collective and the World Resources Institute are working to increase access to plant-based proteins at universities, hospitals, stadiums, and restaurants.
That seems like a good thing.
Definitely. Stadiums is a big one. I know anytime you go to a sports event, there's like very few options.
Oh, yeah. Or like going to a concert, there's virtually none. Apparently, Billie Eilish offered a bunch during her last concert round.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
I think it was all plant-based. I read something about that.
I remember seeing like basically was a requirement of her venue or something like that. So
yeah, very cool. I remember I had my appendix out and there was like nothing I could eat at the hospital.
Oh, yeah.
That was like several years ago, maybe like a decade ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like the only thing I could eat was yogurt. And I was vegetarian at the time, so I'm not sure what they would have fed me as a vegan. Maybe a banana.
Yeah. Yeah, I've read people on Reddit talking about they're at the hospital and it's a little contentious because they want to make sure you're getting the right nutrients.
Yeah.
But you're like requesting a quote unquote restrictive diet, right? We talked about how it's not really restrictive.
Right.
But yeah. So they're just interested in getting you the food you need. And you're like, well, I can only eat this and this and this that you have on your menu. So.
Which is like, I mean, there's so many health benefits from going vegan. Going plant-based, rather. It's like, it's a little ironic to me that hospitals wouldn't have a very large selection of plant-based options since it's like one of the most healthy diets.
Yeah,
but
it is surprising.
It's just odd to me. And then I think, I'm sure universities are doing better than when I went, but like the university I went to, it was mostly, for some reason, they'd had a bunch of chain restaurants in our food area.
Yeah. And
the only, I was vegetarian at the time, and the only place I could eat was like Subway. The little veggie sub. Yeah. I just ate a veggie sub every day. Every day. All of freshman year. It was actually pretty awful.
That explains why you never want Subway now. Because actually, I don't really hate their their bread with just a bunch of vegetables and mustard on it.
Yeah.
But you're always like, no, I'm not ever eating that again.
A little bit of PTSD. It was like, okay, we also had Papa John's.
Yeah.
There was like a mini Papa John's inside of our little food court area, but you could also use your money, your food money. Because you had to have a certain amount of money in your whatever food allowance thing just to live on campus.
Right.
So I was allowed using it at the nearby Papa John's to get the actual menu, and I was vegetarian, so that worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
But so it was basically Subway every single day. That was all I ate every single day. And then on Fridays, I would be able to get Papa John's.
Yeah, that would have been much harder as a vegan.
I don't think I would have been able to eat any of the shit I ate as a vegan. Yeah. I don't know what I would have eaten as a vegan.
Yeah. So hopefully these organizations can help with that kind of thing.
Yeah, that would be nice.
And then last up, the American Heart Association is going to help consumers add plant-based meals to their diets through easy recipes, tools, and guidance, which obviously their goal is heart health. So
that's very cool.
Yeah. So methane in general is bad, right?
It's bad.
Bad. What makes it bad?
Well, I don't know if you know this, but as a greenhouse gas, methane is actually 28 times more powerful than CO2 on a 100-year timeline and 80 times more powerful than CO2 on a 20-year timeline.
Yeah, it's surprising we don't hear more about methane. I mean, like I said, we used to hear about it kind of a lot, and we hear about CO2, carbon capture kind of stuff all the time. I know, like, we had the thing when I was growing up was like the hole in the ozone layer, which...
Yeah, stop doing hairspray.
Right.
Was like the thing I remember.
But yeah, so hairspray, getting rid of like the aerosol cans and stuff was apparently seen as like one of the biggest victories of like the world coming together on an environmental cause, and we can't just ever seem to do that again.
Yeah.
But it really repaired a lot of the hole in the ozone issue just by getting rid of the aerosols and stuff.
We just need to get rid of the cow farts.
Yeah. That was before like every environmental thing was a government conspiracy or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Whatever
Back
the current
when
line of
people
thinking is.
believed science and scientists.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those were nice times when people believed scientists.
Yeah. So the EPA says that researchers have found that 37% of methane emissions from human activity are the direct result of our livestock and agriculture practices.
Yeah, so it seems like this is what we should be targeting, right?
Yeah, room for improvement. The next piece of news we have is about a mushroom farm.
Ooh, I am always excited to hear any news about any kind of mushrooms.
Yeah? You do like mushrooms.
I love mushrooms.
I also like mushrooms.
I know you do.
Most of them. I got the weird thing with lion's mane where if I take it more than a couple days in a row, I start getting a little dizzy. I'm not exactly sure what that's about, but luckily I don't come across that much.
Not amazing.
So a family has transferred their former animal factory.
Which, okay, yeah, animal factory. Maybe you haven't heard this new term, but I stalk the shit out of Faunalytics and keep up to date on everything they post.
Yeah.
And so I guess they did some kind of research on like which terms are most effective. And industrial farming was like the least effective as far as a very strong reaction from omnivores that heard the word.
Okay.
So yeah, industrial farming doesn't seem to have the reaction, right?
Okay.
Factory farming gets a pretty good reaction, like, oh, that seems bad. But apparently animal factory is actually worse, and people still know what the hell that means.
Okay.
So, yeah, maybe we should be switching towards animal factory.
Maybe, yeah. I can see why industrial farming, that kind of just makes you think, oh, they use like big tractors and combines and stuff like that. But yeah, animal factory, I mean, kind of sounds like somewhere where you're building animals a little bit.
Which, not far off.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I actually think it's a pretty good term for it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I think it also focuses on the animals because factory farming is also like the factory agriculture
Exactly.
stuff. So, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. So we are probably going to try saying animal factory more. Yeah. And you should too.
Let's try it out. But yeah, so this former animal factory was specifically a concentrated animal feeding operation that farmed 8,000 pigs per year. And now they've turned it into a specialty mushroom growing operation.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
The 1100 farm is located in Radcliffe, Iowa, which I guess is like Iowa is one of the biggest states for factory farms
and
in the country.
Pig farms specifically. We were talking about that in our pig farm episode.
Yeah. Anyways, the mushroom farm is currently thriving.
Yeah.
They worked with an organization called Transfarmation Project, which I knew you would.
Perfect.
But the Transfarmation Project partners with farmers to like support their transition from livestock to plant-based agriculture, and it's run by the nonprofit Mercy for Animals.
Okay.
So very cool. If that's something interested to you, you should go support them. I thought it was cool. It reminded me of, I don't remember which documentary it was. There was a documentary we watched for like a vegan documentary where the guy was like a partner with one of the major chicken farmers. Yeah. And he was like, they basically subcontract out people like smaller farms to like, but then they have to basically do whatever the large company says, which is what I was reading about this pig farm too, is like they were having to report up to like the major pig farm organization, right? So they have to basically do everything they say and do it every way they want. And I guess it's pretty stressful in general.
The article was saying like there was a big mental toll and like having to be basically driven by the way they want you to do things.
Yeah. You have an evil overlord, right? Telling you to do things their way. Yeah. Extra evil. So, but that was the same with the chicken farmer in the documentary. Yeah. And basically he transformed his like big ass chicken barn into a mushroom growing place. So,
and this is kind of the same thing. Yeah. I think they said they had two big barns that they used for pigs, and I guess 1,100 farms was originally named because there were like 1,100 pigs per barn or whatever. Yeah. But anyway, now they don't do the pigs anymore, and they turned one of the barns completely into like a mushroom growing operation. They've got lion's mane mushrooms, some like rare oyster mushrooms, and some other things like that. So.
All the cool shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it was a quote from the Sun, maybe, but he was basically saying, like, you know, our family's like, we're not a bunch of hippies, man. We're just like, my dad was a welder and like and then we've owned this farm for like 40 years and we're just like regular people. So if we can transform our pig farm to a mushroom farm, anyone could do it.
Yeah. They had an article actually in The Guardian about this farm a while back. And he was saying something like, our family is not the likely kind of family that would have done something like this.
Yeah.
So it's like, and that's what you were saying. We're not hippies. Like we didn't do this because we want to grow mushrooms. It's like, this just made sense for us, and running the pig farm really sucked.
Yeah. And it seems like it's pretty economical as far as like it's thriving. So love to see it.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see more of these mushroom farm conversions.
Fingers crossed, because
mushrooms aren't cheap either. I would imagine you can make some money growing mushrooms.
I bet you could too.
Yeah.
I think this could be really neat because like all the places we shop, they only have like the same 2 or 3 mushrooms. And I want to try all the cool mushrooms, but my stores never sell the cool mushrooms.
I know.
It's just portobellos, baby bellas, white button mushrooms, maybe some dried shiitake, maybe.
They'll occasionally have lion's mane.
Yeah. Well, no, I've never seen.
I thought they had the big puffy packages of lion's mane. Yeah.
Do they? Oh, Whole Foods does?
Yeah, Whole Foods sometimes has lion's mane.
Yeah.
But it's really expensive.
Yeah, but like, outside of Whole Foods, like if you're just like shopping at Meijer or something, it's like there's like really limited selection.
Yeah.
So it'd be cool for that, just to be able to get some cool shit.
That's why sometimes I like going to like the vegan Asian restaurants because they'll have like some fancy mushrooms.
Yeah, like gnocchi.
Mm-hmm.
I used to buy gnocchi all the time, and now I can never find it.
King trumpet stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even oyster mushrooms are kind of hard to find.
Yeah. So anyway, mushroom farms. That's pretty cool.
Very cool.
And then the last news story we have here is about melon leather. Say that 3 times.
Melon leather.
South Korea's Chogak County has begun upcycling melon waste into vegan leather.
That's really cool. I'm loving anything out of Korea lately. We've been watching so many K-dramas.
No, I know. But they partnered with a vegan fashion brand called HLK to produce prototype card wallets, business card holders, and bags. Currently, it's about 10% melon waste as part of their vegan leather product. I think they said they're hoping to ramp that up to like 22% melon waste. So that's pretty cool. And apparently, so melon waste, you're thinking like, oh, wow, how much melon waste do we have? But apparently this county in South Korea produces a certain type of melon that produces a lot of waste.
Like huge rind situation.
Right.
Yeah, it sounds like they're basically just using the rind from the melons.
Yeah.
And combining it with some kind of a vegan fabric.
They are a major producer of chamoy melons, which is a Korean specialty crop.
If it's a non-English word, we will butcher the shit out of it, and we apologize.
Hopefully we'll see more fruit waste turned into bags or something. Yeah. Upcycling is always interesting to me because it's like we were literally just going to throw this thing away, but actually we can make useful stuff out of it.
No, it's awesome.
Yeah.
If you have any K-drama recommendations, let us know.
Oh, yeah, we've gone through all of them.
Yeah, we watched Bon Appetit, Your Majesty. And what was the one we just watched? Oh, My Royal Nemesis.
Oh, yeah.
That one was good. And we watched Mr. King. And then I watched this other one that I can't remember the name of that did not have an English dub, but it did have a Spanish dub. So I watched it in Spanish because I understand Spanish, well, like a lot better than Korean.
Right.
Because I don't know Korean at all.
Yeah, I looked over. I walked in the room one time when you were watching it, and I was like, "This is a Korean show, and they're speaking Spanish. I don't really know what's happening."
Trust me, it was better.
Yeah, it's easier to follow than Korean for sure.
Well, yeah.
If you don't know Korean.
Yeah, I can like look away and still kind of know what's going on.
Mm-hmm. So now we're going to get into the replay of the main topic, Going Vegan 101. So first off, maybe we should define the difference between plant-based and vegan.
Yeah, they get used interchangeably a lot, which I guess is like semi-fair on the diet front, but the meanings behind these are completely different, and it you can piss a lot of people off by using the wrong one.
Yeah. A lot of people are touchy about this kind of thing for some reason. So.
As they should be. I'm not plant-based, I'm vegan, bitch. So plant-based is like you adhere to a mostly plant-based diet, and I think this is where it gets a little confusing because some people say plant-based, but they're not like fully plant-based. They're like, I'm mostly plant-based.
Yeah, a plant-based diet is not even always technically a vegan diet.
Yeah.
Because it'll be predominantly plant-based. So you might still have some fish and meat and stuff like that.
Yeah. Even Morningstar doesn't know what the hell plant-based is because they write plant-based on their vegetarian products. which I'm not sure what tree eggs come from, but it pisses me off.
Yeah, I can understand in the context of plant-based diet, meaning there might still be some animal products, but having a product say plant-based feels like it should just be plants.
Feels like it's pretty misleading, Morningstar. Maybe PETA should get up Morningstar's ass. So anyways, so plant-based is diet-focused, and most people go plant-based for like health reasons. Some people do it for environmental reasons, but then vegan is for animals.
The main tenet of veganism is reduction of animal harm and like the belief that animals aren't here for our use and things like that. So the scope of that is much larger than the diet. It includes things like clothing, accessories, shoes, beauty products, cosmetics, even certain little types of food you might not think about, like honey and gelatin and things that are fortified with lanolin that comes from sheep.
Yeah.
And then also alcohol and toilet paper.
Yeah, like a whole array of things that you probably need to look into if you go vegan.
Yeah, you can find a lot of lists online about things to look out for in particular products. There are like vegan-friendly cosmetics and stuff like that.
And vegan-friendly alcohol.
Right.
I wouldn't know what to recommend you other than there is a vegan bourbon company called the Brothers...
Blood Brothers Bourbon?
Blood Brothers Bourbon.
Like
we only know this because we watched Vampire Diaries, and one of the guys from Vampire Diaries is vegan, and so they started a vegan bourbon company. But there's lots of good lists out there. We just don't have them for you here.
Well, it really depends on what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Like, there's lists for all these different areas of interest and things like that. So we do have an article we're going to list in the show notes where you do cover a lot of those types of things. So you kind of got your own list for a couple of various areas.
I'm just not like a purse expert or like a fancy shoe expert, so I can't really tell you which ones are vegan approved, but there are lots of people doing good work out there, and if you Google it, you'll definitely find lists of like shoes, purses, cosmetics, all that stuff. Just to let you know to look out for that.
Now you know.
The more you know.
All right, so now let's dig into the vegan diet itself.
Yeah, which is also the plant-based diet, but...
A vegan diet is plant-based. A plant-based diet, not always vegan.
Yeah, it's like those little word things that were on like the ACT, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Not all these are that, and not all those are this.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So first off, one of the things that a lot of people have the hardest time with when they go to try a vegan diet is how to deal with the things they have like cravings for, hyper palatable foods, which just means like really that taste really good and you want to eat more of them. And then things with sentimental ties, so like family traditions, holiday meals, a lot of stuff.
Or convenient stuff.
Yeah, convenient stuff. You go to snacks.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So we'll talk about a couple of the components that kind of make up a lot of those dishes typically. And the first one is cheese substitutions.
Yeah. When I went vegan, this was the one I was most concerned about because I remember trying vegan cheese at like a pretty young age. I don't know why, because I was vegetarian, but I remember trying it and it was really bad. But this was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But they've gotten great.
And cheese is very often like the last hang up. Like people are like, I would go vegan, but cheese.
Well, cheese is literally addictive.
Yeah.
Like actually addictive. So I don't know. I've heard the advice that once you go vegan, you should stay off of any cheese or any vegan cheese for a couple months and then come back to vegan cheese and you'll like it better. I went straight into vegan cheese and enjoyed it fine. So I think it really depends on what you use it on because it does have like some of like a lot of the ones you buy in stores have more of like a sticky texture.
Yeah.
Like if you're melting it on pizza, the mouthfeel is going to be a lot different. But if you're putting it inside of a quesadilla, like I don't notice it so much.
Yeah. I think the main difference is like vegan cheese doesn't really have any protein. So the texture is a little different.
Yeah. Most of them are coconut oil based. So
yeah. But there are a lot of really good ones. And you've got a couple that you like specific for like specific use cases.
Yeah.
Right.
So I really like Follow Your Heart Parmesan, the one that's in a little tub. That's my favorite because it browns really well in the oven. Like if you put it on broil, it browns and it gets kind of crispy. So I like it on pretty much anything like casseroles. It's good. I know a lot of people use it on pizza. I don't usually use that one on pizza, I like it on casseroles. Sometimes I'll just toss broccoli in the oven with it. A little bit of that and a little browned Parmesan on top, and it's excellent.
And then you can get, if you like grating the block of Parmesan on your pasta or something like that, Violife makes a really good one for that.
Yeah, that one's good. It's flavorful. That's the one I would eat if I wasn't cooking it. Like, if you're going to be cooking a parm, I think the Follow Your Heart's the one to do that with. There's also like a couple other really good parms. We've been having this one. Was it Madly Hadley? It's like a shaker.
Yeah.
Parmesan.
Yeah.
We've been eating. That one's really good. It's like very flavorful. I think that one's cashew based. There's a smaller company that I think you can really only order online unless you're next to a large vegan cheesery or where her location is. But Peaceful Rebel cheese is actually really good. They have a Parmesan block that's like kind of nice and melty, and they also have other blocks of cheese that you can melt.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are tofu based, so they have a little bit more protein than your average like store cheese.
No, that's nice. And then, shredded cheese is another big one people use on all kinds of recipes. We usually go for Violife for these. They have like a Mexican. They have a Colby Jack, which actually tastes a lot like Colby Jack. They have
cheddar, mozzarella.
Pretty much everything you would find in a shredded cheese section.
This is like probably my favorite for shredded cheese. I feel like it melts really well. The thing with vegan cheese, though, if you're trying to get it to melt, is the key to vegan cheese melting is humidity. So just keep that in mind when you're trying to get it to melt. Moisture helps it melt.
If you have a piece of sliced cheese and you're trying to melt it on like a vegan burger patty, you can put a lid or something over it and it'll melt around the patty. Yeah,
maybe like drop a couple drops of water in the pan to up the humidity and then lock it in.
We learned that trick by watching the chef Max at Herbivore cook at a festival one time.
That's true.
All right. Daiya cheese I think that's like one of the original ones. They seem to be the most popular vegan cheese.
Yeah, it's gotten a lot better. That one used to suck.
Yeah.
Daiya also has like some other products. They have like vegan frozen pizzas and cheesecakes and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, they have cheese. It's usually not my first pick, but a lot of people like it. Nuts for Cheese is another good one that's like a little more artisan, smaller company. They mostly have blocks of cheese that you would like cracker cheese, basically. And I think they have a couple dips, but they are really good.
Yeah.
They're like a little pricey, but they're delicious.
Yeah, and they have some of the more unique flavors. It's not like a standard cheese.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, I actually don't think they're that expensive when you think of like the artisanal dairy cheeses.
Yeah, they can get pretty pricey.
Yeah.
And then since we're in Chicagoland, we have to mention Cheese and Thank You.
Yes, Cheese and Thank You is awesome. And if you haven't been able to find it yet, I hope one day you do. They sell a lot of them at Whole Foods. They have this, I can't remember exactly the name of it, but there's a Cheese and Thank You feta that you can kind of like work into a pasta sauce pretty easily, just adding it to like a plant-based milk, and it kind of melts down and makes a really nice pasta sauce. Also, she has like a line of fresh mozzarellas that are perfect for pizza.
Yeah. Awesome. And then for the cases where you might use a feta cheese, Follow Your Heart has some feta crumbles.
Yeah.
I like these on salad a lot.
Yes. They are my favorite salad cheese. I think Violife also has a feta block, but I always go with the Follow Your Heart one.
Yeah. And then for cream cheese, if you use cream cheese on like a bagel, you know where you use cream cheese. Right? But Violife has a cream cheese, and then actually Philadelphia now has plant-based cream cheese, which is really good.
That one's really good, especially the strawberry one.
Yeah.
But a note on the cream cheeses is that they are coconut oil based, so they are like pretty melty. Like when you throw it on a bagel, it's going to semi-melt. Yeah. But also, if you're trying to use it in a recipe in which you're making it hot, like, I don't know, a cheesecake, I probably would not use store-bought cream cheese.
Yeah. And then for sliced cheese, typically it's on burgers and sandwiches and stuff. You can get Follow Your Heart. They have a lot of sliced cheeses, but also Kraft now has vegan sliced cheese.
Well, that's true. If they had I think American and cheddar, they might have a couple other ones.
Yeah.
Violife has some pretty good ones too. And then if you're looking to spend a lot of money on some really delicious cheese, Rebel cheese, expensive, but delicious.
Yeah.
It's mostly like cracker cheese. Like if you were gonna put out like a charcuterie board with like really nice options for like a dinner party or just like a Saturday night where you just want to eat a plate of cheese.
Yeah.
Which we've done. Rebel cheese is the best for that. And they also have like subscription boxes, which I think saves a little bit of money.
So that's kind of the cheese landscape.
And if you have any other cheeses that you really like, let us know and we'll try to find them and try them.
For sure. Next up might be condiments. So these are there's only a couple of condiments really that you rely on that have animal products.
Yeah.
Because like ketchup and mustard, those are typically fine. Those are always vegan.
Right.
But stuff like mayonnaise has eggs. So Follow Your Heart has a vegan mayonnaise, and then Hellmann's has a plant-based mayonnaise.
I personally prefer the Follow Your Heart one. I think it tastes really good.
Yeah.
We tried the Just Mayo, and I didn't really like that.
They should stick to the eggs.
Yeah. You can also make your own mayo. Like I make my mayo out of silken tofu if I'm using a bunch. It doesn't stay in the fridge very long, so I wouldn't really recommend making your own unless you're using it all in like a coleslaw or something quickly.
Yeah. That's not the like jar of mayonnaise you keep around for 3 months.
Exactly. Yeah.
Next up, ranch dressing. Obviously, several animal ingredients typically, but Follow Your Heart has a really good ranch dressing.
Yeah, and I think Hidden Valley Ranch has a vegan ranch too, and that one's pretty good. I still prefer Follow Your Heart, and I think Follow Your Heart has a couple other creamy dressings.
They have a couple. Like
Caesar and maybe a couple others. But either way, I like the Follow Your Heart ranch a lot. And then I guess while we're on the topic of like condiments, does butter fall into condiments?
Sure, because it's not anywhere else on our list. So.
That's true. Now, if you've been in the grocery store in the last 2 months, you may have noticed that like vegan butter is, I don't know what's going on with vegan butter, but we're like having to try out all kinds of different new vegan butter because all of the ones we used to buy are gone.
Yeah, hard to find.
Earth Balance is pretty good for baking. What other ones have we been trying? Country Crock.
Country Crock has like an avocado oil based one, and then another one that is a different oil. I can't remember right now. They have 2 different kinds. I also read recently that I can't believe it's not butter is now accidentally vegan as of fairly recently. So
yeah, I think I saw that on Reddit too.
So next up is meat substitution. So this is another big one. People really like the texture, taste of meat. A lot of the time.
Some people are actually disgusted by the texture of meat. So the ones that I think are really gross because I don't like the texture of meats might work really well for you if you're really trying to get that texture.
Yeah, the more you dislike it, the closer it is to real meat.
Holy shit. What was the Beyond ground beef actually made me cry while I was trying to cook it. I had an actual panic attack. It was just not good for me. So if you really want ground beef.
That's a recommendation, by the way. We got to get the Beyond Cow in on it.
Yeah. So good it makes me cry.
Some other ones are Gardein. They do a lot of the like frozen nugget shaped type things.
They have a lot of good stuff.
Fish sticks, like chicken tender, think that kind of thing. They do a
crab
lot of
cakes.
Yeah, crab cakes.
I think they also have some, and I don't know if they still have these, but the ones that you can just kind of like throw in the microwave in a bag and like end up with like orange chicken or.
Yeah.
I think they had like an Alfredo one at some point. I don't know. They've got Gardein is like pretty high on my list of like frozen ones I really enjoy.
And they actually usually have pretty solid protein in them. So.
Yeah, the macros are not bad. I think they also have their own burgers and stuff too.
Yeah.
I don't think we've really used that too much.
And then also for burgers specifically, Beyond and Impossible, I'm sure everybody has heard of these by now, but they're kind of the go-to burger patties and ground meat
stuff.
Substitute.
Yeah. Boca also makes a veggie burger that has really good macros. And then let's see. There are a couple other ones all around the same macros, pretty burgery, Yeah. It will meet your burger needs.
And then if you're thinking more in terms of sandwiches, Tofurkey is a brand that has a lot of tofu-based kind of deli meat type things.
Yeah.
They have a smoked turkey is like their main one, I think, but they have a couple
they have
others.
A ham too.
Yeah.
They also sell Tofurkeys around Thanksgiving, like a big roast.
Yeah.
But yeah, the macros on those are always they're like pretty comparable to like actual lunch meat. So,
and then in the jerky realm, the most popular brand is Louisville Vegan Jerky, and it's also our favorite. They have a smoky Carolina barbecue flavor that's really good.
Then there's Seitan. Blackbird is like my personal favorite, but they're not at very many stores. For some reason, they put their pizzas in stores, and I don't like their pizzas.
Yeah.
And I'm like, can you please put your wings and stuff in stores?
Yeah, their wings are great. You just have to, order them a case at a time and keep them frozen, so it's a little.
Then you need to buy an extra freezer. It's like a whole ordeal. So hey, Blackbird, go put your wings places. We don't want your pizza.
Yeah. If you're in Texas, last time we were there anyway, they did have the Seitan, the barbecue Seitan and the Korean Seitan at HEB. So you might check that out.
Yeah, that was actually where we found it.
Yeah.
Upton also has good seitan. Yeah, they've got like crumbles. And then there are a couple other brands. Daring.
Yeah.
We recently tried that. They have pretty good chicken.
Yeah, Daring has a really good Cajun chicken, specifically if you like spicy stuff. I like that a lot.
I personally haven't tried it because I can't do spicy.
Really good macros too. Kind of expensive. But
yeah,
really
the macros are really good. And then the makers of Just Egg put out.
Yeah, they're just meat chicken alternative.
We haven't had a chance to try that because it's not near us.
Yeah.
Like we haven't found any, but
somebody online told us it was really good.
Yeah.
Next up, moving away from meat, are some egg substitutes. So eggs are another one that are like kind of in everything, especially if you're doing baking, things like that. So it's good to know some substitute options there.
Yeah. So if you're just wanting scrambled eggs, Just Egg is pretty good. Like the liquid Just Egg works pretty well.
Yeah.
Also, I would recommend a tofu scramble. It is not really super egg-like, but it kind of like fills the void of scrambled eggs.
A tofu scramble with a bunch of nutritional yeast is pretty close.
It's pretty close. Yeah. The macros are really good. Just Egg also makes frozen patties that work really well on like breakfast sandwiches. If you're looking for an egg substitute for baking, I personally don't use Just Egg for baking.
Yeah.
I really like a flax egg.
Yeah.
Basically a tablespoon of ground flax combined with like 3 tablespoons of water and let that sit for 5 minutes, and that gives you like about an egg.
Yeah. If you don't want to do that, Bob's Red Mill also sells something just called Egg Replacer.
That one's okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I always go back to the flax egg, but I also like pumpkin puree works well as an egg substitute, so does applesauce or like mashed up bananas.
Yeah.
Some of those will add some extra flavor, but I actually find that pumpkin puree works really well.
Yeah.
Doesn't add too much flavor on its own. And blended silken tofu is also a good egg substitute.
Silken tofu is good for pretty much everything.
Yeah. Oh, and then if you're looking for an egg white substitute, most people go with aquafaba, which is like the bean water that you would normally drain from a can of chickpeas. So also, here is like a really fun fact is that the Plantiseer on Instagram, we talked about her last podcast. She has a lot of good ideas, guys. But she apparently she told me that she freezes them into like ice cubes so she can use them later.
Oh, the aquafaba?
Yeah.
That's really
interesting. Which is like genius because like if you're making hummus, you're probably not also making something that would need egg whites. So yeah, she'll just like drain the can of chickpeas and put it into ice cube molds and have them for later.
It's a super good idea.
She bakes a lot, so it makes sense. But I was like, holy shit, that's genius. It could be life-changing for you if you are someone who bakes and also messes around with chickpeas.
So kind of the next phase that you might be looking for food alternatives in is when you go out to a restaurant.
Yeah. So the first recommendation we'll give you is downloaded Happy Cow.
Yeah, definitely. Happy Cow is an app where you can find vegan and vegetarian restaurants pretty much anywhere in the world. So if you just go in there, say, show me restaurants near me, everything in there is at least vegetarian.
Mm-hmm.
If you can look for fully vegan restaurants, or you can just find restaurants with vegan options.
Yeah.
There'll be probably a couple near you that you've never even heard of.
Mm-hmm. And there will be a couple in there that literally they don't have anything on the menu, but someone decided to put it in Happy Cow and give it a 4-star rating because they have breadsticks.
Yeah, you got to avoid those. It's not as bad on Happy Cow as it is on like the delivery apps though.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Some of the big restaurant options though that we have seen that are good are Taco Bell. Taco Bell, if you put stuff fresco style, and pick beans, there's a lot of vegan options there actually.
Yeah. So fresco style removes the sour cream and the cheese and any other dairy products they have, and it replaces it with
Pico de Gallo.
Pico de Gallo. Yeah. So that's a really good option. And, since it's so bean focused, there's a lot of like protein.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it high protein, but like it's filling for sure.
And it's like mostly whole food. So
yeah, it's actually people make fun of Taco Bell, but it's a really healthy option as long as you're pulling off the dairy products.
Yeah. Next is Chipotle. Kind of the same thing, like a bigger Taco Bell, but they have a flavored marinated tofu called sofritas.
Yeah.
So you can basically get a very high protein double tofu bowl with a bunch of fresh vegetables and beans and stuff.
Yeah, and it's very customizable, so you can add on whatever you want.
Yep.
The next up is like a noodle bowl, poke bowl, rice bowl restaurant. There's a lot of those around now, which is great because they have great options.
Yeah.
You can customize your own bowl. You can add on a lot of veggies, usually like a rice base or maybe a noodle base. And then the best part is they almost always have tofu.
Yeah.
At least one kind of tofu.
We found one near us that uses really good sweet potato noodles.
Yeah. What is it called?
Bibimbap or
Bibimbap? Bibimbap?
Yeah, bibimbap.
It's super good.
And then Asian restaurants. A lot of the Asian restaurants have vegan options. A lot of them have tofu as an option, so another protein option.
Like Chinese, Thai, Japanese. Thank you for having tofu. You guys make great tofu.
Yeah. Indian restaurants, very vegetarian friendly, but a lot of them do have a couple of vegan options as well.
Yeah, and a lot of those will have tofu too.
Yeah. Burger King, surprisingly, they have the Impossible Burger still. I know a lot of places are pulling stuff like that off their menu, but Burger King has still got theirs.
Holding strong so far.
Yeah. It does come with, I think, like a mayonnaise you have to take off, but it doesn't come with cheese.
Yeah, it doesn't come with
but
cheese.
Make sure you don't order it with cheese.
Yeah, take it home and put on a slice of your own cheese.
Yeah. But yeah, they have, so it's an Impossible Burger patty, so a little bit of protein there too. Mediterranean restaurants, not a great protein option, but they do have falafel, hummus. If they have vegan pita bread, sometimes you can get that too.
Yeah, sometimes they have wraps too, like falafel wraps.
Yeah.
Pretty decent option.
Love a good falafel. And then smoothie places. A lot of those have plant protein add-ons nowadays. So you can go get a smoothie bowl with a bunch of fruits and add in some plant protein to it.
Yeah, they usually will let you add in plant protein powder to the actual smoothie part. And then like you can get add-ons like nut butters and nuts and seeds. And then like while we're talking about restaurants, we should probably mention like social outings or like eating out can be, I think, one of the trickier things with going vegan, like as far as, you know, things that like directly impact the way you've been living.
Yeah, definitely. I know that's one of the big hangups for people. And I think that's one of the main things that makes people go back to not doing a vegan diet is just like, I can't go out with my friends anymore. I have a lot of trouble like trying to coordinate social events with this vegan diet thing. So
yeah. So I think, you know, I'm an introvert, so my advice is, woohoo, no more social outings. Or like, you know, find some vegans.
Yeah.
Some new vegan friends. But also, I think my real advice would be maybe look on Happy Cow, try to find some, first off, like if you have really cool friends, they might want to go check out vegan restaurants with you. Like we have friends that will go out to vegan restaurants with us. Yeah. Which is awesome.
Because, you know, everybody can eat vegan food because it's just all the other food that's not the animal product part.
Yeah, everyone. Vegan food is for everybody. But, you know, if your friends are like less inclined to eat vegan food, you could always find maybe some omnivore restaurants that have a good vegan option. Maybe that would work. Suggest things.
Yeah.
I will say, like, on the work front, this comes up a lot. But my recommendation there would be, as soon as you decide you're going vegan, I would, like, as soon as the first work event comes up, you just gotta, like, rip the Band-Aid off and tell them so that you don't have to keep, like, if you let it slide once, they'll just kind of take advantage of, oh, this person doesn't really care if there's an option for them. They'll just bring their lunch. So I think my recommendation is to, like, talk to your supervisor or manager, whoever's coordinating a lunch and learn or whatever, or, like, a work outing after work.
Yeah.
Try to get some vegan options in there.
Yeah, just slowly, you know, over time, I'm vegan. Oh, I can't go to that. I'm vegan. Blah, blah, blah. And then maybe some will eventually show up.
That's true. The next thing up will be cooking, because depending on where you live, you might not have very many vegan options.
Yeah, I will say if you're going to go vegan, you're going to want to learn to cook at least as much as you can.
Yeah, and maybe you can find some really easy meals, but you should, I think, for me, that is like my number one piece of advice, period, is like have a couple recipes that you can make and that you enjoy eating. Because I don't know, I mean, we're like about an hour from Chicago, and Chicago has so many options, but where we live, I wouldn't call it a vegan desert, but it's not real great.
Yeah, we've only got a few options here that are really reliable.
Yeah, and you'll get burned out of those really fast.
Yeah.
So I think learning how to cook a couple meals that you really like is like the best advice anyone can give you. And I think vegan cooking can be kind of intimidating because, you know, you're not using all of those things that you were using with vegan meats, vegan dairy substitutions.
If you're trying to figure out what to cook, you can go to the Protein Deficient Vegan website and get a bunch of high-protein vegan recipes.
Yes. And there are also other really amazing recipe sites out there that aren't just mine.
Sure.
You know, but yeah, you should go try mine out. But honestly, there's so many vegan food blogs and vegan baking blogs out there. Like, you're going to find something that resonates with you.
Yeah.
And, like, just try some easy stuff. I know when I first went vegan, I actually only made my recipes and Nora's recipes.
Yeah.
But, like, Nora was a huge lifeline for me when I went vegan because I just didn't know what to do with anything. So find someone whose recipes that you like and try, like, some easy stuff. Even if it's just eating, like, a quesadilla or, like, a burger. Like, just, you can rely on substitutes early on. Since I have a vegan food blog, I thought I would just throw out some of my tips that may or may not be useful to you, or like ideas that may or may not be useful to you.
Let's hear 'em.
Okay, so my first one is important to know that most vegan cheeses are pretty much just coconut oil.
Yeah.
So they're not really going to work the same way as their dairy counterparts. For instance, if you're trying to make a creamy mac and cheese, just having shredded vegan cheese is probably not going to make it creamy. It's going to be oily. So you might need to add in like blended cashews or silken tofu, just because vegan cheese is a lot more oily than dairy cheese.
Yeah.
So it's something to understand. Same with like the cream cheese, right? Also, if you have been eating a lot of cheese and if you're someone who tracks your protein and calories and stuff, you've probably been getting protein from your cheese. And so it's just important to know that you're not getting protein from vegan cheese anymore.
No, and I think that's actually I've read before, like that's one of the reasons that sometimes you can run into protein issues. It's just a normal vegan not thinking about protein and thinking about fitness or anything, is because you're getting protein from dairy that you weren't even really thinking about, dairy and eggs and stuff like that. You hadn't really considered that. So you switch and you have these options that aren't really protein centric anymore.
Yeah, I think that's true because a lot of times when you're an omnivore, you think of like meat and your milk and your eggs as protein sources. But like if you've been eating cheese, or like if you're a vegetarian and a lot of your protein might have been coming from cheese or something like that, a lot of these they're not made with protein. They're oil based. So like they just don't have anywhere near the same macros. So it's just important to know if that's something you care about. And then we already talked about the egg replacer, think for baking, maybe like blended silken tofu or pumpkin puree, applesauce, a flax egg. Next tip would be that a lot of our plant-based protein options like tofu, TVP, homemade seitan, stuff like that, tempeh, they don't have much flavor on their own. So it's really important that you're very liberal with your spices. I'm liberal and also liberal with my spices. Because that's really where you're getting a lot of your flavor from.
Yeah, it's funny because I watch you make your own recipes and you're like, I'm just going to add a little.
Yeah, I said like a tablespoon of vanilla, but what if I should have more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The key difference is if it goes wrong, you can only blame yourself.
Yeah, and usually like what I wrote down is right.
Right.
I'm just so used to adding more to other people's. To add flavor, you're usually going to focus on spices and herbs, like fresh herbs really add a lot of flavor. But you can also use things like soy sauce or nutritional yeast or miso to add like an umami flavor and like some additional depth.
Yeah, nutritional yeast comes in clutch in a whole lot of different ways.
We use it all the time, and it's also very high in protein.
Yeah, good tip.
It's a good one. Blended silken tofu is also a great way to add protein to like your salad dressings, pasta sauces, smoothies, cheese sauces, soups, and like any other condiments you have like sour cream and mayo. But if you don't really care too much about protein, blended cashews are also a good way to add creaminess to sauces and stuff. Just make sure you have a good blender, because we made like a cashew mac and cheese before we got a Vitamix, and it was like very gritty, and it was like a good blender, and I soaked the shit out of those cashews and it was still gritty.
Yeah, this is one of the things that actually, convinced us that Vitamix is worth the hype.
Yeah. Cashews. Anything with cashews are going to be better in a Vitamix. So if you don't have the money to spend on a Vitamix and you don't want a gritty texture, just use silken tofu. Yeah. That's my opinion.
If you are working with tofu a lot, you might need a tofu press to get some of the water out in some of the different types of tofu. And if you don't want to get a tofu press, you can also just stack a bunch of heavy books on top of your tofu to squeeze the water out.
That's true. Our textbooks have to be good for something, right? We have like a whole shelf of old college textbooks that we don't look at.
Yeah, and if you try to sell it, you'll get $20 for your $300.
I know. That's why I held on to them. Yeah. I was like, you're not making money off this $200 textbook I bought last semester. And so now I have like 50 college textbooks about random chemistry shit.
Yeah.
That I probably especially won't be reading now that I'm doing food blogging. So yeah, but so for the tofus that you would want to press, it would be like anything that's not super firm tofu or silken tofu.
Right.
So your firm tofu, your extra firm tofu, you want to press those.
Yeah, I don't think pressing silken tofu would work out very
well. If you do want to press silken tofu, though, you can freeze it first.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you thaw it, I don't know, it's crazy. Like it unlocks a lot of the water from it. and then you can press it.
Yeah.
And it makes it look like it's so weird.
Yeah.
It adds like these weird like layers. Yeah. It's very meaty.
Yeah.
And also you can do that with normal tofu too. Freezing and unfreezing and then pressing it actually gives it a meatier texture.
Yeah.
So just keep that in your back pocket. But I can't even remember to press my tofu beforehand, so I definitely rarely remember to freeze and unfreeze and then press my tofu. So
yeah.
That's why we buy super firm tofu. So speaking of tofu, a lot of people cube it, which I don't mind. Cubing's fine. But I would also recommend you try shredding it with like a vegetable grater.
Yeah.
Crumbling it by hand, or like thinly slicing it, which you could do with a knife if you're good at cutting things, or you could buy like a wide vegetable peeler. But the reason these work so well is because you're adding surface area to the tofu, which means that like more water can be released, which will give it a meatier texture, but also you can get like spices to stick better.
Yeah. Yeah, a big part of making tofu taste good is getting the spices to actually like adhere to the tofu and soak into the tofu.
And getting the water to release, like if you don't want like a soggy, mushy texture. So like more surface area is your friend. And if you're hellbent on the cubes, maybe try tearing it, because if you tear it, you end up with all those like little ridges and stuff, and things are going to stick better to that than like very, very smooth lines that you get from cutting with a knife.
Yeah.
All right, now that we covered tofu, like some just high level tips on seitan. Kneading it is going to make it more chewy, and over kneading it will make it rubbery.
So don't do that.
So you don't want that. I've heard people use a food processor to knead their seitan. I've seen a lot of people talk about this, like just chuck it in the food processor to knead your seitan. I did this and broke a food processor.
Oh, that's right.
And so, I don't know. I wouldn't recommend that. Yeah. I think you could, if you have like a stand mixer, that would probably work because it's used to kneading like doughs and stuff. But I personally would not recommend you use it in a food processor because there's a chance it's going to break your food processor. It like burned the motor out completely. Yeah. I didn't even have it in there that long. So that's a thing I wouldn't recommend. Wrapping your seitan dough in parchment paper and then aluminum foil keeps it from expanding, and that will prevent your seitan from going bready. Now, I make a lot of bready things with seitan, but this is specifically advice if you're making like meaty seitan, because it's like a dough, and it's wheat gluten. It has the propensity to like expand and get like airy and doughy. So you really need to think of ways that you can keep it from expanding to keep it like dense, That's like the main thing is like keep it constricted. So double wrapping it is a good method. You can also, so sometimes I'll make like, I have a barbecue seitan recipe on my site.
Yeah.
But if you saute like the dough first on both sides, it kind of keeps it from expanding as well. So that'll keep it from getting light and airy too. And then on that note, Vital Wheat Gluten isn't just for meat replacements, which you already know if you've ever looked at any of my recipes. I use it for like bready stuff, desserts, and also like bready desserts.
Yeah, we just finished a loaf of pumpkin bread, like high protein pumpkin bread made from Vital Wheat Gluten.
Yeah. So the key is like, okay, so if you're going to use it for like bready stuff, you don't really want to go more than like maybe a 1-to-2 ratio of Vital Wheat Gluten to flour. So like 1 part Vital Wheat Gluten to 2 parts flour. Anything more than that's going to lead it more towards like the seitan. So that's for like breads, pizza doughs, pretzels, bagels, blah, blah, blah. But if you're going to do like desserts, I like to go full Vital Wheat Gluten. And the way that I keep it from being like meaty seitan is to add ingredients that will like disrupt the gluten formation. So things like sugar are really good about that. Syrup, mashed bananas, stuff like that. Kind of disrupts the gluten structure from forming all the way. And I also make sure I use leavening agents.
Yeah. What does that do?
It like adds airy springiness to it. So that's why the bread like...
So it's not stodgy.
Yeah, it's not stodgy. It doesn't remind you of meat. It's nice and airy and it looks like bread.
Yeah.
And it's still like a little chewier than not Vital Wheat Gluten stuff, but like taste-wise, it tastes about the same.
Yeah.
And I would say like as long as you're disrupting the gluten formation and making sure you're adding leavening agents, it's also actually not that chewy.
I agree. I really like the bready type stuff that you've been doing with it.
And then Just a couple tips on TVP. So I know there are like different methods for rehydrating TVP, but me personally, I like to put dry TVP in a pan with my water and all my spices and mix that up really well before I ever add heat to make sure the spices are all distributed well. And then if you've ever done that, you'll notice that like it sticks to your pan, no matter how nonstick your pan is. So I definitely recommend like a wooden spatula for like, I don't know, scraping your pan without destroying your pan.
Yeah.
And then TVP is also great for like baked goods, or if you want to replace half of your oats with TVP and oatmeal. It's also good for like high protein breadcrumbs or making your own high protein granola.
Yeah.
What's your favorite way to eat TVP?
Muffins.
Muffins?
My favorite way is muffins.
That's mine too. A perfect, easy, high protein breakfast. And then on the protein realm, like just swapping pasta for protein pasta. Anytime you eat pasta is like a great way to add extra protein without really changing much. You know, like if you are just going vegan and you have a lot of favorite meals, but you're not really like super focused on protein, but you want to make sure you're getting enough protein.
Right.
I think the protein pasta swap's a really easy one.
Yeah. Stuff like that, the protein, this is a little slightly off topic, but the stuff like that with the protein pasta swaps is also good for people who are taking those new weight loss drugs because you're not really like doing the fitness thing necessarily, but you're getting a little less calories. So just swap in something that you're going to normally eat anyway. Like when you can eat food, when you're hungry on that drug, you can do something like protein pasta to just get a little extra protein.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So a lot of products, you've seen a lot of products come out now that's like the same thing, but protein. And a lot of that is because of those drugs. So.
A lot of those are pretty bullshit though. Like the protein Pop-Tarts, it's got like, okay, come on.
Yeah, you go from 1 gram to 3 grams and now you're protein Pop-Tarts.
Like you have the same percentage of protein as a potato. You're not a protein Pop-Tart.
Yeah. No, definitely. That's definitely happening.
But like, I think protein pasta is a good one because it's usually like 30 to 40% protein.
Yeah.
Or like low carb wraps are another good one.
Oh, those are so good for that.
And then, you know, some other like little whole food kind of high protein snack options would be like dry roasted edamame are really good. And so are those bada beans.
Oh yeah, the bada beans are really good.
Another ingredient you maybe haven't heard of too much is edamame puffs. So I like to
tell anybody else about them. We won't be able to order them anymore.
I make sure we have stock before I ever mention it. But edamame puffs are great. They're made from basically like soy protein and a little bit of rice starch, and they puff up. And I use them in the same way I'd use puffed rice.
Yeah.
So basically Rice Krispies or like homemade granola bars or homemade protein powder, homemade protein bars, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're like my favorite ingredient.
They're so good.
Homemade puppy chow that you can eat for cereal.
Yeah, man, the puppy chow is so good. And then obviously the Rice Krispie treats are like outstanding. So
yeah. So we like edamame puffs. You should like edamame puffs. Also, money-wise, they're pretty cheap on a like $1 per gram of protein basis. If you're in the U.S., I don't really know about outside of the U.S. But
yeah.
Anyways, those are like some of my cooking pieces of advice, I guess. Random thoughts.
Stream of consciousness on vegan cooking.
Take it or leave it. I don't know if it's useful.
Definitely good tips.
And then for like just some more helpful kitchen type stuff, having a good blender, I think was the biggest thing for me when I went vegan.
Yeah. And again, we were looking at Vitamix and we're like, oh, really? How much better is it?
They're so expensive.
I know. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, they're much better than other blenders.
I know. It's really annoying when like the expensive thing is actually worth the hype.
I know.
It's very irritating. They have pretty good sales on Black Friday though. So like put it on your wish list if you don't have one. I do think it's the best blender and it does what it says it does and it is better. And I'm sorry for that.
Also, you can use a steaming basket for this. You mainly use it for seitan, I think.
Yeah.
But you can also steam vegetables and stuff with it.
That's true.
It's good to have around.
Yeah. I have those, I think they're bamboo based.
Yeah.
But they're like, they stack on top of a pot that I have.
Yeah.
But they also have collapsible metal ones that kind of fit in whatever pot.
Yeah.
And so I would recommend that as like a cheap option.
You just put some water in the bottom, you set the thing on top, it sits a couple inches above the water, and then all the steam cooks what you have in the basket. Really simple. And very cheap.
Very cheap. And then the next one is you hear a lot about air fryers. And I like my air fryer, but I rarely use it, to be honest. And I know a lot of people use it more. And I also think a lot of people use it just because they don't want to turn on the oven because it's a lot faster. And that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But if you don't really mind turning on your oven and you want the same kind of performance of an air fryer, I really like a copper crisping tray. It's got like a lot of holes in it, so you get all like kind of the same airflow situation as you would inside of an air fryer.
Yeah, I never tried these even before I saw yours, but they would have been nice to have my whole life. They just like it cooks stuff really evenly. It kind of gives it that little bit of fried texture on the outside, even if you don't use oil and stuff. They're really nice.
Yeah, you don't really have to like flip stuff over in it.
Yeah.
I don't know. My grandma always had one because she was like, she really liked frozen like junk food, she really liked French fries, right? So she was like, they're so good for French fries. But yeah, she just like chuck French fries in them, and then she got me one for Christmas one year, and I was like, holy shit! Now we have like 3 because I cook a lot. So
yeah,
but they're a lot cheaper than an air fryer.
Yeah, oh for sure. And they'll probably last a lot longer.
Probably.
Copper, so probably outlive you.
They probably will.
I don't know about the coating on the outside. We have a couple that are kind of chipping, but the actual basket itself.
But just be gentle. I'm not very gentle with things.
Next, a kitchen scale can be good for both preparing food and tracking your calories. So there are a lot of powders and stuff when you're baking where you can't really use the measuring cups, can't really use the spoons because you're not going to get a very accurate measurement.
Yeah.
So you just, put your bowl on the scale, measure out 200 grams of flour or whatever you have going on, and you're off to the races.
I think this is especially important if you're cooking with vital wheat gluten specifically because it's so dense. But I think protein powders are like kind of crazy.
You know what? Actually, I just had, okay, this is also a little off topic, but I just had the Veganuary giveaway for personal training, and I had a client that I was just talking to a couple of days ago, and he told me that he's been using protein powder for a while, the same one, and he thought that he was getting like 40 or 60 grams out of his scoops because he was doing a couple servings, but it actually turns out that he went and measured it one time, and it was so far off that what he thought was like 50 to 60 grams was actually only 20 grams.
That's crazy.
The scoop itself was so inaccurate.
Yeah, the scoops they give you are garbage.
Yeah.
So if you're really, really tracking specifically protein powder, you should definitely be weighing that shit because their scoops they're just not good.
I know. I did a little short video on it like a year or two ago, and the one I looked at was off by like 50%. It was pretty significant.
Yeah, you looked at a few of them.
Yeah, they were.
And they were all off.
Every one I looked at was all off. The worst offender was like 50% off.
Yeah, some of them will be off in the direction of like, oh no, you ate 50% more calories, and some will be off of like, actually, you hardly ate anything.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
And you never know what it's going to be.
Kitchen scales, very helpful tool. So now that we know a little more about cooking in general, what to keep in the kitchen, some alternatives, things like that, maybe the next thing you'll be asked, and the next thing you might ask yourself when you try to switch to a vegan diet is, okay, where do you get your protein? Where do I get my protein?
Yeah.
So
this is a hard one to figure out if you're like new to vegan food.
For sure, yeah.
It took me a while.
Mainly because a lot of the things we end up using for primary protein sources are things you don't use at all if you're not a vegan.
Oh, and like if you're just like mainstream looking, like this is really for if you're focused on protein, right?
Right.
Because if you're just looking at mainstream recipe blogs, a lot of this stuff isn't even in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're not going to really know a lot of this stuff. They're not really focused on protein, which is fine. Like, and if you're not focused on protein, that maybe you don't need this section. But like these are like basically we've tried every protein thing on the internet.
Yeah.
And these are the ones that we keep in our house.
Yeah. So the big one is going to be soy proteins.
Yeah, which makes up a lot of like the proteins that we use.
So soy is actually the highest quality protein we have available to us as a vegan. It's a complete protein. It's very similar to like the animal source proteins as far as quality, digestibility, all that stuff. So I would recommend if you're interested in protein, try to focus on the soy protein.
Yeah, and it has a very neutral flavor, so it works really well in a lot of recipes because you can just kind of make it taste like whatever you want.
Yeah. You have some examples of soy protein?
I have many examples.
Let's go.
So my first one, silken tofu.
Yeah. I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, I knew you knew.
And not just because it's on the note in front of me.
I think I am the biggest pusher of silken tofu on the internet. I don't know. And I make no money off of it, which, please, silken tofu, give me money. But it's great, like, blended for high-protein sauces or dressings or literally anything that you want to be creamy, silken tofu.
Smoothie.
Yeah, it's great to add to smoothies.
Yeah.
Next up would be just regular tofu, which comes in super firm, extra firm, firm. All have their own use cases, but really good. I think it's like a pretty good like meat substitute as far as like a whole food plant-based meat substitute.
Yeah.
And we kind of already talked about the ways you might use that. Next would be textured vegetable protein, or TVP, which is one of my personal favorites. It's good for savory stuff and also baking. Soy curls is one I've heard a lot about it, but I only recently started using it.
Oh yeah, the soy curls they're pretty good.
So they're kind of like really big TVP chunks, more or less.
Yeah.
Basically, you just soak them in water for 10 minutes and then squeeze out the water, add spices, and you can eat it in tacos or on top of a pizza, or I don't know, however else you would want to eat something like that.
Yeah.
The size of I don't know, chicken strips, basically.
Yeah.
I don't have a good comparison in the meat world, but yeah, eat it in the way you would eat meat chunks. It's really good. And it's high in fiber too.
Right. Also, there is Say Grace, which is a brand name. And you have to describe it by the brand name because it's the only thing that exists that is like it. And they just call it Say Grace chunks. But what it effectively is super concentrated soy protein in the shape of meat chunks, basically.
Yeah, they have a couple different shapes. They have bits, shreds, fillets, nuggets, and I think maybe one or two others.
Yeah.
But it's it's basically just a super concentrated form of TVP chunks.
Yeah.
You do need to boil this one. So it does add a little bit of time to it. So keep that in mind if you're looking into it. But it's 90% protein, which is insane.
Extremely high protein for a food.
Yeah.
Yeah. A dry roasted edamame is one of my favorites. They're good to keep around for snacks. You can get them in basically little single serving bags.
Yeah, or a big tub.
Yeah.
Or you can make your own.
Yeah, or you can make your own.
Yeah.
Very high protein.
They're good on top of salads to add a little crunch.
Mm-hmm.
I like them as a snack.
If you're somebody who likes snacking on nuts and seeds and stuff, maybe swap that out a couple times for the dry roasted edamame. Very similar, crunchy snack, but high protein.
And they have different flavors. I'm obsessed with the dill flavored one right now.
Yeah. Oh, the dill, the ranch. There's a couple.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good ones. So next up is tempeh, which we haven't done much with. But I think the whole food plant-based crowd really likes this one, I think, a little bit more. So I don't really have any recommendations on how to use tempeh. There's lots of recipes out there for tempeh.
There are people who really like it. I've tried a couple different ones. I don't like it yet. I'm sure I'll find one eventually that I like, but I'm not there yet.
We just always choose tofu over it.
Yeah.
I don't know, for no reason.
Yeah.
Anyways, the next one's edamame puffs, which we kind of talked about already. It's soy protein in puff form. Great for homemade protein bars, Rice Krispie treats, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, they're really good. Soy milk also. There are a couple of different types of plant-based milk. Soy milk is the one with the highest protein content.
Yeah, it's 35 to 40% protein, which is I think pretty similar to dairy milk.
Yeah, we went back and forth. We started out using an almond milk, and then we kind of went to oat milk to get a little more creaminess, and now we've kind of settled on soy milk being our go-to.
Soy milk's my favorite. It was the original, plant-based milk option, and I think it should have stayed the only one. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can eat soy.
Right.
Yeah. And then lastly, this one doesn't get talked about much, but soy flour. This is defatted soy flour, and I use it in some baking. It works really well as I don't use it fully, but I'll do half and half flour to soy flour for something that's going to be kind of dense anyways, like brownies. It's a good way to add protein to a baked good recipe.
Yeah. So those are a lot of your soy-based options. Again, if you don't have an issue, I would try to focus mostly on that. But there are a lot of people who have a soy allergy. So let's talk about some of these soy-free substitutions or alternatives.
Yeah. So soy-free tofu is a big one. They make fava bean tofu, which is about, I think, 90% protein. Yeah. The macros are insane.
Yeah.
They also make a pumpkin seed tofu and a chickpea tofu. The last two don't have great macros, and they're also kind of pricey.
Yeah.
So I think if you're soy-free and you can eat fava beans, I would probably stick with the fava tofu if you're worried about protein.
If you can find it.
If you can find it, yeah. The next one would be TPP, textured pea protein, which is basically a direct substitute for textured vegetable protein.
Yeah. I think that's a really good option.
Yeah.
And then pea protein puffs, kind of similar to the edamame puffs.
Yep. You can use them pretty much the same way.
Yep.
And yeah, they kind of have they have similar macros. The pea options are a little bit more expensive.
Yeah. And then some of the items you might keep around in the pantry. PB Fit is a big one. Think of it as a higher protein replacement for peanut butter.
Yeah.
They have both a powder version and a spread version.
And if you can't find PB Fit, PB2 also makes those as well. I think the macros are slightly less good, but if you don't want a name brand option and you want something cheaper, they do just make peanut powder. Make sure it's defatted, which it kind of has to be defatted, otherwise it would turn into peanut butter. I think Anthony's makes one that's cheaper.
Right.
There are a couple other brands as well.
And then protein powder, obviously, if you're trying to hit a protein target, keep protein powder in the pantry. A lot of the protein powders are going to be a blend, so they're all going to be high quality as far as like complete protein. And you can do brown rice protein. There are a couple that are soy specific, soy protein. So yeah, a lot of options out there for protein powder.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people right now are asking about the lead thing.
Yeah. So there was that Consumer Reports thing that came out that said basically plant protein powders have a higher level of lead, and they used kind of a very low threshold for lead. Kind of comes out of California Prop 65 guidelines. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a lead expert, but from what I've seen from the people who are experts in this, it seems like that threshold that they used was significantly lower than something like the FDA would normally use. And it doesn't seem like they are really going up to a problematic level. And, it'd be better if all of our food had no lead.
Wouldn't that be nice?
But that's not really an option. I mean, there's a small amount of lead in a lot of food.
Yeah.
So what I can say is that based on what I've read and what I've heard from, experts that I trust on this, I'm not really changing any of the protein powders that I use. So you make your own decisions on that kind of thing, read a little more about it. But it does seem like they used a really conservative number for that study.
And which ones do you usually use? I
use mostly Ghost now. They have a vegan line. They have a vegan cinnamon flavor that I really like. Orgain, if you are concerned about the lead levels, Orgain is a really popular one that was also pretty low in the lead levels on that test. So you can still stick with Orgain.
Orgain's my favorite, and I hate protein powders. So
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Next up would be Vital Wheat Gluten is a great pantry item because you can make your own meat replacements, or you can just add protein to like baked goods and stuff like we talked about before.
Yeah.
But it's actually a really cheap option, at least in the US. Protein pasta, which we've also mentioned before, but that's a really good pantry item to keep. They make lentil pasta, which is our favorite. They make chickpea, black bean, edamame, lupini. They make blends of different bean pastas.
Yeah, and I don't find that they taste much different at all than a normal pasta.
No.
Especially when you get it into an actual recipe. Like maybe if I was sitting there eating pieces of pasta next to each other, I would notice. But inside an actual dish, I can't tell the difference.
Yeah, you kind of notice the bites a little bit different if you have leftovers, I feel like.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I like them. They don't bother me, so I eat them. Next is nutritional yeast. That's also a shelf-stable item. Adds cheesiness, but it also adds protein. So I recommend having that on hand.
Lots of it.
Lots of it. So much of it.
A big favorite of mine is beans.
We've been eating so many beans lately.
Yeah. You can get dried beans extremely cheap. You do have to do a little bit of prep with them by soaking them and things like that. But you can also get canned beans pretty cheap. And you can, use them in all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. So basically, I somehow got onto Bean Talk, which is like this bean propaganda part of TikTok where like hot girls eat beans, right? So like, yeah, I'm going to eat beans then. So then we've been making bean bowls, which I don't know even really what to call them, and it probably will never go on the recipe website, but basically it's a half a can of black beans with a little bit of black bean juice. This is part's important. And then you do 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast and a half of a teaspoon of taco seasoning. You mix that really, really good. And then you sprinkle some like vegan shredded cheese on top and you throw it in the microwave for a minute to a minute and a half. And then it comes out as like, I don't know, cheesy beans. It's really good.
Now, if you've been a loyal listener, I might ask you to recall earlier episodes where I've been made fun of for eating bowls of beans.
Because he didn't season them, guys. It's not the same.
Anyway, I would just like to say I won the battle.
Are my bean bowls better than your bowls of naked beans?
Well, yeah, definitely.
Oh, okay. So it looks like I won. But they're good, right?
They're great, yeah.
We just had them an hour ago.
It's really simple. It keeps you full. Like whenever we do this bean bowl thing in the morning, I feel like I just forget food exists until late in the afternoon at least.
It's great.
Yeah.
We've been eating them for breakfast.
Lentils also kind of closely related to beans. You can use those in soups is kind of the most popular way to use them, but there are a lot of other ways to use lentils. And those you can also get dried or canned.
And dried is going to be significantly cheaper.
Yeah.
Then another one to keep in the pantry, protein bars, protein cookies, that kind of thing, protein snacks.
Also some veggies. Now, I mean, you're not going to get all your protein from vegetables.
Yes.
But there are vegetables that are slightly higher in protein. So as you're going throughout the day, kind of making your food and your meals, and you pick maybe the slightly higher protein vegetables, that stuff adds up.
This is for like, if you have a protein goal, you're having trouble getting your protein, maybe this will move the dial a bit.
Yeah.
Like swapping out some veggies that are higher protein.
Yeah.
So these are like broccoli, mushrooms, spinach, kale, bok choy, cauliflower, green peas, and artichokes are kind of like the high performers. And that's on a protein percentage, not on like a gram per gram.
Protein per calorie.
Yeah.
And then some miscellaneous stuff that doesn't really fit into other categories, which is what miscellaneous means.
Thank you.
Vegan ground beef and burgers, we talked about a little bit already. Might want to keep those around for protein. Just egg, we talked about the egg specifically, and also now the just meat chicken alternatives and stuff like that. Seitan, we talked about, a really good vegan protein staple. Vegan chicken nuggets. So yes, like a fried food, but also a lot of the vegan chicken nugget brands are like 40% protein. So it's pretty close to what you would look for in a protein bar. Yeah.
You got to check each brand because they all vary quite a bit, but there are a lot of them that are pretty decent protein. Yeah.
And then the low carb keto tortillas we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, love those.
Those are, because of the nature of the fiber in them, they're actually really high in protein a lot of
They
time.
also make like high protein bagels and high protein breads.
Yeah.
But those are really expensive, so you just make your own.
Yeah, and the tortillas, so you kind of get the double whammy, high protein and high fiber.
That's true.
Good choice. And then the tofurkey deli slices we mentioned before, and vegan Greek yogurt is a big one. Greek yogurt is big in like fitness and in baking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Try to get some extra protein in. So there are vegan versions of that as well.
Yeah, and I think that one's like a little over 50% protein.
Yeah.
I don't really like the flavor on its own, but that's just my opinion. I am picky.
Yeah, and if you want to see more vegan protein options, we'll have a link in the show notes. So you have a protein database on your website. That's basically a big table you can sort and filter, and a bunch of different products that show like how much protein they have per calorie, how much protein they have per dollar. So you can see kind of the most cost effective, the highest density protein, a lot of stuff like that all in one spot. It's like over 200 different things on this table.
Yeah, it's quite large. I like spreadsheets. And then I guess we'll move on to like additional resources. We had a big podcast last week on different documentaries, so we're not going to really dig into these here, but these are kind of the ones that we watched and would recommend. Cowspiracy is good for like an environmental perspective, and it also does a little bit on the factory farming and animal stuff. Forks Over Knives, mostly a health-based documentary. Punk rock vegan movie was really cool if you are into the punk or rock scene, or you just want to hear about how it influenced veganism and animal advocacy. The next one is Game Changers. It kind of follows around like world-renowned athletes. So it's more of a health-focused documentary.
What the Health? This was about the kind of the food system in the United States. So another health-focused one. Seaspiracy was about industrial fishing and kind of its impact on the environment and veganism. And then The Invisible Vegan, which was a look into kind of veganism and Black culture. And
yeah, kind of hit all the bases.
Yeah.
I Could Never Go Vegan also hit all the bases, kind of went through any myths or excuses you might have for not going vegan one by one.
And Food Inc., another one kind of about the food industry and how it, it'd be better off if we went vegan.
Eating Animals was pretty good. This one kind of dispelled the myth of like the meat you get in the grocery stores is from humane farms.
Yeah. And then Plant Pure Nation was one that kind of touched on the government aspect and followed like a small town group of people trying out vegan diet, watching their blood work, things like that.
Next up was Vegucated, which followed around 3 meat and cheese loving New Yorkers who agreed to adopt a vegan diet for 6 weeks. So that was pretty fun to watch.
And then Earthlings and Dominion are both really like graphic undercover looks at the actual farms themselves.
Yeah. And we actually didn't watch those, so we don't want to lie. But these are more for if the other ones didn't turn you vegan, these probably will.
Yeah. Also, a couple of books we really like. One is a book that was also one of the movies we just mentioned, was Eating Animals.
Yeah, this is from Jonathan Safran. Basically, it's part memoir, part investigative reporting, but it examines the morals around veganism, farming, and then like the food we eat every day. This is actually the book I read that made me go vegan.
Another one I really like is How Not to Die by Dr. Greger and Gene Stone. This talks about the most common causes of death from disease and how a plant-based diet can basically help with every one of those in various ways.
Yeah, this one was really interesting.
Yeah.
The third one we'll recommend is The Impactful Vegan by Robert Cheek. This one's more for like if you're already vegan and you're looking to do more advocacy/activism work. He discusses how vegans can maximize their impact by using our time, money, and energy so that it goes further.
Yeah.
And I thought this one was really insightful on like, if you're already vegan, like what can you be doing to move the dial?
Yeah, I really appreciated that book. Then we have some websites that might be cool to look at to try to, especially I find that if I'm trying something new, it helps me to go and find some like sites that talk about it, kind of keep them on my bookmarks and look at them every once in a while. So a couple that are really cool for veganism. One I really like is Great Vegan Athletes. So this is basically a site that just keeps, profiles of a whole bunch of elite vegan athletes in various sports. So you can go see, who are all the rugby players that are vegan? Who are the Olympians that are vegan? So you can just see, what people can do.
And then Veg News and Veganuary, I would say, are both really good vegan resources. Veg News focuses more on kind of news, but they also have a lot of recipes. And then obviously we had Stu from Veganuary on, and their website is great. It has a ton of resources and recipes.
Yeah, they do. Next is Vegel. It's a good reference for how to order vegan at various chain restaurants. So a lot of times you'll really, does Arby's have vegan food or whatever? You'll find the Vegel article. Not to be confused with Vegly, which is apparently like a vegan dating app, which you could use too, I guess.
Yeah. If you're looking for a vegan partner, you have that as an option. Happy Cow is like, we've already talked about it, but really excellent for finding vegan options near you.
Yeah. Also, if you use Reddit, or if you Google for anything vegan, you'll probably end up on Reddit.
Yeah, but I personally think if you're going vegan, Reddit, you should get Reddit.
Oh, there's so much good information on it.
Yeah.
So a couple of the subreddits, which are basically communities on Reddit for vegans, are, there's one called Vegan.
Yeah.
So that's the main kind of hub for all things vegan.
A lot of news. You can also come here with questions as long as they're in good faith. Vegan fitness is probably the one we're on the most.
Yeah, that one's really nice for anybody interested in fitness who is a vegan.
Yeah, it's like high protein vegan recipes, fitness, health discussions, progress pictures. But like if you have questions around like if you're starting a fitness journey or you're having trouble hitting your protein, I think this one's a really, really good place to go ask questions.
Yeah. It's also the Protein Deficient Vegan subreddit, which is kind of similar to vegan fitness, but no selfies, mostly about recipes and asking questions.
And anyone can post there.
Yeah.
People don't post very often other than me, but you can. And you should. Yeah. Next up is vegan recipes. And like, as the name implies, lots of vegan recipes there.
These are all pretty well named.
Yeah.
Plant-based diet is more about the diet focus and less about veganism. So if you're just specifically interested in food, you can go there.
Eat Cheap and Vegan is one of my favorites. This one's like good if you're on a budget and you need recipes. They've got a lot. And it's a good place to ask questions.
Yeah.
And then I will say, like, being a vegan can feel very lonely. So finding a place where you can find other vegans to talk with or find like, you know what I mean? Or like socialize with, I think is really helpful to make you feel like, I don't know. I actually heard a lot of people stop being vegan because they feel like so alone in it and they just want to feel like normal and back like part of society again. So I think, I don't know, places like these Reddit communities are really helpful because it makes you feel like you're not like the only vegan in the world out there. There's a lot of people that can relate to you. I don't know, even like if you're on social media and you want to like start a vegan social media account, I think there's a lot of like really good vegan communities on like Instagram, like you can find people to talk to. You know what I mean?
It's also really helpful because as you're going vegan, you probably have a lot of questions and there's nobody in your real life that can probably answer
right.
those. So you can go read blogs and stuff like that, but it's helpful sometimes just to have a discussion with a person.
Start a social media account that's vegan and like make some friends, or you can join our Deficient Vegans Discord where it's vegans. You can ask vegan questions. Find a place to find vegans. That's my, like, I would say big advice though, so you don't feel alone.
So in conclusion, some of the actionable takeaways you might have here after listening, make sure you find alternatives for the food you loved if you're trying to go vegan. That's going to be really important to making sure that you can stick to it.
Yep.
Also, learn to find restaurants with vegan options. The main way we do that is Happy Cow, and I consider that to be the best way. But if you join some of these vegan communities, especially local communities, those can also highlight some restaurants you might not know about.
Yeah, and Reddit has a couple different like location-based vegan communities. I know we're on like Chicago Vegan a lot, so.
Right. Yeah. Also, make sure you plan ahead for any social situations. You want to make sure, like, you're going to a restaurant that's going to have something you can eat. If you're going to a family gathering, they're going to have some options for you.
Or like a work lunch and learn. Just make sure that you're having these discussions with people so that they know you're vegan.
Yeah.
I'd say improving your cooking skills is probably one of the biggest takeaways.
Yeah.
Learn how to cook at least a couple things that you enjoy and that's like fun for you, or like at least pretty simple and easy for you to do.
Yeah, definitely. Focus on your protein. Even if you're not necessarily like lifting and have a protein goal, you just be aware that you had a lot of kind of hidden protein before that you weren't paying much attention to. And some of that's probably not going to be there naturally now.
Yeah. I don't think it's a bad idea if you first go vegan to like track your food for a couple weeks just to make sure you're hitting your protein.
Yeah. And your micronutrients.
Yeah.
And then be aware that a lot of things use animal-derived ingredients that you might not think do.
Yeah. If you're going vegan, it's not just about food. Like, make sure you're looking at your clothing and your makeup and your, like, home goods and stuff like that.
Yeah. One of the big surprises for me was toilet paper. Most toilet paper has gelatin. So if you're vegan, you can't really ethically use gelatin. So you might have to make some decisions there.
We use Who Gives a Crap. It comes in a big box, which is really nice if another pandemic hits.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah. That's pretty much it for the How to Go Vegan 101 crash course.
Sorry it was long. We had a lot to say.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do our bite-sized coaching for this week. If you don't know, I'm a personal trainer. I did a couple of Ask Me Anythings on Reddit, had a couple of I had a lot of interesting questions there, so I wanted to share one of those with you today. I remember you get to ask the questions.
I do get to ask the questions. Okay. For some reason, this one got deleted by the moderator.
In Reddit.
On Reddit, yeah.
Yeah.
But this was the question. How do you deal with protein farts when you're in a confined space with other humans after eating 50 grams of protein?
This seemed like a very specific question to me.
Also, what do they mean by confined space? Because I only know that from like the industry term of confined space, which I'm sure is not what they mean.
I think they just meant like you're working in an office with somebody, or you're like hanging out in the house, like on the couch with somebody.
That is not a confined space.
I guess not technically. I don't really know what they meant. My guess would be they were in an office.
The colloquial use of confined space.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, not like whatever you're thinking.
Okay, so how do you do it?
Yeah, so first of all, I'd recommend not downing 50 grams of protein in 30 seconds right before you're going to be in a confined space with somebody.
Yeah.
But if you do, you have to follow the golden rule in society of whoever smelt it, dealt it, and you don't smell anything.
Oh, you just act stupid about it.
Right, obviously.
Okay.
But on a more serious note, the protein farts can often be from additives in the protein powders or the protein bars. So you might try different types. One of the big triggers is kind of like a sugar alcohol. Sometimes you're maybe a little more sensitive to one or the other sugar alcohols or artificial sweeteners or something. So you can kind of try a couple different ones. Maybe try, if you can find one with natural sugar, it's actually kind of hard. But maybe that won't make you as gassy. They're not like this causes gas, but some people, they're a little less gassy.
Yeah, you're a little sensitive to sugar alcohols.
Also, just in general, vegan proteins are a lot less gas producing than like whey or egg proteins because they don't have as much of the sulfur amino acids.
And they don't smell as bad,
right?
In my opinion.
Same thing, yeah.
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 What about like just gassiness overall? Like a lot of people say they get gassy when they start eating more vegan protein sources like, I don't know, soy and beans and stuff is normally what I hear.
Yeah, a lot of it is you kind of changed your diet a lot immediately. Like people who are like, oh, Taco Bell makes me have diarrhea or whatever. It's because you never eat fiber. And then you go to Taco Bell and you just had 20 grams of fiber in one meal. So I would say just in general, anytime you're going to change your diet, whether it's ramping up protein or you're starting to eat a lot more beans or something like that, just kind of ramp it up slowly instead of a drastic change. That way your gut microbiome has time to adapt to it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I've also heard like soaking your beans can help. Rinsing your beans can help.
If they're
TVP, rinsing TVP.
If they're dry beans, for sure you want to soak them. I think canned beans are already...
Obviously, you're going to soak your dry beans.
Some people don't. And I think
they eat them dry?
Well, no, they just cook them without soaking them first. Like soak them. You have to like soak them to get...
Soak these beans?
Yeah. So anyway. But yeah, canned beans are already pretty much... You can just eat them out of the can.
Yeah, I've had people say that they rinse them before they eat them out of the can because they said that helps with their gassiness.
All right. Well, there's a tip. I don't know that one, if that actually contributes or not, but hey, try it out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff to try. A lot of weird things can make people have gas. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it could just be like digestive issues too.
As far as the protein powder goes, if you do want to try to eliminate some of the fillers and stuff, there's one brand of protein powder called Naked that just does single ingredient protein powder. So they have a rice and a pea version that are vegan. So the ingredient is like literally just yellow peas or whatever.
Yeah.
You can try that. Also, peas on their own are something that might make you more gassy. So you might try the rice instead if you find pea protein makes you gassy, or find something that's like a pea rice blend.
What about peanut powder?
Peanut powder might work. Yeah. You can try that out. Yeah, so I think you just kind of have to try things until you figure out like what it is that makes you specifically more gassy. But in general, it's like don't have a ton of it at once and don't like drastically change your diet overnight.
Yeah. And then the other thing I would remember is that even if you're more gassy, vegan farts don't smell as bad as omnivore farts.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's just a fact.
That's what you use for the argument for whoever's complaining about your farts.
Yeah.
But they could smell much worse.
They could smell like yours.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of trial and error because there's nothing that like definitely causes farts. But yeah, you have to kind of figure it out for your own gut.
Yeah, and don't hold in your farts though, because apparently if you hold in farts, that can give you bad breath. If you're constantly holding in your farts. No, you're looking at me weird. This is a real thing. No, I'm serious.
Okay.
This is real.
If I can find a link to how real that is, we'll put it in the show notes.
So it will be in the show notes because it's real.
All right. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for the coaching. Now we have some updates for the Deficient Vegans community on Discord, specifically around the book club.
Okay, so pretty exciting. Can I announce it?
Of course.
Yeah, so we did a poll, and the results are in. The next book for the book club is, can I get the drum roll thing? The next book for the book club is The Impactful Vegan.
Yay!
Woo! The crowd goes mild.
That's a good book. I really like that one. We have read that one before, but I'm really excited to get
Gonna read it again.
Yeah, I'm actually excited to read it again because I'm sure I need some refreshers on some of the stuff in there.
Yeah. And then there was a close second, and
a very different type of book.
A very different type of book, like a horror book.
Mm-hmm.
And we're pretty excited about that one, too. And there was enough interest that we're going to be doing a second book club back-to-back.
Yeah.
So
like a spooky book club.
Like a spooky book club for Halloween. So The Impactful Vegan will be in early September, and we'll give you more dates as that approaches, probably next week. And then...
Tender is the Flesh.
Tender is the Flesh. That will be in October, going through Halloween.
Do we know if this book is PG-13?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think it is.
I don't think I've ever read a book that had the word tender flesh in the title, so we'll see how it goes.
I haven't either. Sounds pretty good. It sounds like my vibe. So I'm really excited about this one. We didn't vote, but I probably would have voted on that one.
I probably would have voted on The Impactful Vegan, but I'm happy to participate with the other book too.
He's going to have to read it regardless if he wants to or not. But we are doing a raffle for 5 impactful vegan books next week on our Instagram accounts. Yeah. So keep an eye out for that if you want to enter.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening. We really appreciate it. If you are listening on Apple Podcast or Spotify, if you could rate and leave us a review, that helps the show get out there, and we appreciate it. If you're listening on Spotify or YouTube, you can also leave us a comment if you have maybe something you want answered in the bite-sized coaching segment, or just something you want us to talk about on the podcast, or you just want to provide some feedback. Either way, we'd love to hear that.
Or you just want a private answer.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Yeah. So as always, you can check the show notes for any links to our social media, our websites, or any of the references for the things we talked about here today. All right. I think that's it. You want to say bye?
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.